What is up, guys and gals? My name is Mr. Moose, and today we are playing a little Car Mechanic Simulator 2018. Loving this game, and we've been playing a ton of it in the live stream, grinding out to get up to level 30 so that we get the paint booth open, and we've done it. Yeah, we've expanded out the garage all the way, and now we're just having some fun restoring cars. Got my truck all painted up, got rid of all the rust. Same thing with our Typhoon. We fixed it up and made it into a nice little racer here. And today we're gonna go do a junkyard pull. We're gonna find a jalopy out of the junkyard, bring it in and do a full resto on it so you guys can see exactly what goes into it. I thought that would be kind of fun. To me, the junkyard finds are where you're going to find the most profit when you're flipping cars. You could go and do the auction house or do a barn find, but when you do, the price you're going to pay on the car is about twice as much as you pay for it out of the junkyard, which means that eats into your profit. So today we'll see what is available in the junkyard. I got no idea. It's completely random, and we'll jump in here and we'll find whatever we can find. Now, when I come to a junkyard, typically the first thing I'm going to do is come right here in this corner, and I start here and just systematically work my way all the way around the junkyard, picking parts, finding the things that I need in the shop, or finding things that I know are commonly used in the shop, like brake pads, engine cylinders, engine blocks. I showed you that in our last video that we did about the game, how you can pick the parts, take them back and repair them and have fun, make some money doing that. Wow, we got a lot of cars we can choose from today. So we've got a Charger over here. Had to look and see if there's Charger or Challenger. The Charger is $21,833. Now, we did one of these over the weekend, and I know we can get upwards of about $60,000 when we fully restore this out. So that's a decent little value right there on it. Then we've got the Rollet here, which we'll go ahead and look at and see what we got here for value. $18,000 on that. Not a bad deal either. Missing a door. Now, when I pick the cars in the yard, the things I look at are, do they have all the panels on them? I don't really worry about headlamps or tail lamps. Glass I don't worry about, because those are things that I can't repair, so I'm going to be going ahead and replacing those anyways. There we got the Mazda RX-7. Price on the RX-7 is going to be $21,000. Now, I built one of those over the weekend during the live stream as well, and I think we got it up to about $50,000 on the resale on it. Another Rollet here. Let's look at the price on it. I keep trying to left click on it to get the price. $18,900. So both of those are about the same price. I'm not really interested in that one. Let's walk around. Again, normally I would pick parts, and I would look at the cars as I pick parts. But today, I'm specifically looking for a car, and then we will go ahead and purchase something and go, ooh, I think I might have found what I want right here. How much is this thing? Boy, that engine's in terrible shape too. This ought to be a steal. $16,000 for a Corvette. Oh, these haven't been available in the junkyard since the game came out. They just added them back in one of the recent patches. Got both seats in it, steering wheel, and again, these are the things that don't matter to me. Okay, when I pick a car, I don't care if the tail lamps are in. I don't care if the windshield's in. I don't care if the seats and the steering wheel are there, nor the headlamps. All of those things I have to replace. License plates going to be replaced too. I can't fix those. The things I can fix are the engines. Here's my concern with this one. There's no valve covers on it, which means I got to replace those. And other than that, everything else is here. So if I was really being a stickler, I would say, well, the valve covers aren't here. I need to make sure I have the valve covers for this particular motor. But other than that, everything else I'm gonna purchase anyways. So tail lamps, yeah, gonna replace those. Windshield, gonna replace that. Any sort of glass in the car, gonna have to replace that because I can't repair it. Can't do upholstery. Gonna replace those. Can't repair the steering wheel, gonna replace that. Now, this is considering that I'm going to do a complete restoration on this. If I were trying to flip the car and just do the minimum amount of work on it to make a quick profit, then it would be a different story. But I'm not. I'm going to do a full resto, ground all the way up. And I got to be honest for you, $16,000 seems like a steal on this car. I've seen them in the junkyard for about $21,000, $18,000, something like that. $16,000 is unbelievably low, and we are buying this car. So let's go ahead and get it. It is baby blue. We'll go ahead and pay the $16,000, have it delivered to the garage, and then we'll head back to the garage and check it out. Now, if I were doing this in the game, I would continue to parts pick, and I would have made note of all the parts that were missing on the car, and I would pick any one of the parts that are here. And I would especially, any part I found for a Reptilia, I would pull as well. Now remember, there's a Reptilia 1 and the Reptilia 2. The Reptilia is the older style Vet. The Reptilia 2 is the more 80s style Vet that I can't stand and wouldn't buy with a passion. That one right there, you're probably never going to see me do a restore on it because I can't stand that car. It's the ugliest, hideous thing in history, and I hate them. But anyways, love the old Vets, can't stand those. So anyways, yeah, so that's what I would do. I'd go parts pick, I'd get as many parts as possible for that car, and then we'd head back to the garage and repair it. Let's go to the garage, and I'll see you there. Alrighty, let's see what we got. Baby blue Corvette, or well, excuse me, Reptilia. But yeah, it's Corvette, and it looks pretty good. I mean, yeah, it's got all the scrapes and scratches on that, but amazingly, using a welder on fiberglass, we'll be able to get rid of all of that rust. Because, you know, fiberglass rust, I know, it's not really rust. It's a physical appearance of damage is what really rust is in this game. Everything rusts in the game, even if it's fiberglass. And don't think of it as rust. Think of it just as a way to depict damage. Right? That's the way I'm trying to do it. I'm trying to look at it and say, okay, it's damage. It's not really rust. It's maybe this guy side-swiped a minivan with this thing, and that's all this fender work and everything is crushed in, and we're going to have to do a lot of fiberglass work on it, right? You know, let's, you know, be open-minded with it and not just say, okay, well, this is all rust or whatever. All right. So let's get right to the nuts and bolts. You can do it however you want to do it, right? You can go in here and do all your body work right off the bat. Get rid of all the chrome, make the car look good, straighten the body up, get your, you know, all of that done. For today's purposes, let's do the big reveal in the end. So we'll go ahead and start right with the engine work. First thing I like to do is jack her up in the air and pull the drive shaft and the transmission out, because I don't like pulling the motor with the lift and pulling the transmission out at the same time. Now, if I was doing this in real life, that's exactly what I'd do. I'd come down here, I'd grab the drive shaft, I'd pull it out, and then I would pull the engine with the transmission and all that at one time. Then I'd set the whole assembly down on like an old tire and a block of wood, and I'd break the transmission from the engine. And then I would go ahead and mount my engine up on my engine stand. That's the way I'd do it in real life. The game doesn't allow me to do that. The game will put the entire apparatus up on the engine stand. It looks kind of silly sometimes. Though they may have changed that recently. I know on all the front-wheel drive cars, it's now been requiring me to disassemble the transmission from the engine before it puts it up there. It's also been having you take a lot of exhaust off of it. So I haven't done a traditional engine, a V8 or anything recently, so they may have changed some of that. Let's go ahead and drain the oil, assuming that there might still be some liquids in the car. Let's go ahead and drain the oil and see what happens. Typically on a junkyard find, it doesn't seem like there's any liquids in it. I guess they think they all, evaporate or something else like that. But let's be honest, on a real junkyard find, any car that's been sitting out, usually there's a lot of liquids in the engine, and there are liquids that you didn't want in there. So okay, we got all that out. At this point, we'll go ahead and get our engine lift out of here, or our engine crane, and we'll go ahead and move that over to bay 1. We'll walk over here to it, and we'll tell it to pull the engine out of the vehicle. It has done so. We'll go ahead and pull the radiator out as well while we're here. We'll get that out. We'll get the brake servo out, and we'll go ahead and pull the battery as well. Look at those conditions. The battery's 41%, not terrible. But we'll leave the engine crane right there, and then we'll go over here to the engine lift, still mislabeled as engine crane. And we will go ahead and select to load the engine. Now, the verbiage on this is a little messed up. Add engine into crate is what it says. It should say add engine to stand. And then over here it says take engine or take off engine from crate. Very confusing. To me, if you take the engine out of the car and you put it somewhere other than on the stand, you put it in to a box or a crate or something like this. So the verbiage is a little confusing with the word crate being used there. So anyways, you hit this one here and it's going to add it to the stand. If you've got multiple engines on you, it will show, but we've got just one, and here it is. And it's actually mounted somewhat correct. It's well, sideways, but it is somewhat correct. So let's go ahead, rotate the engine one time. Oh, no, not that way. Want to rotate it like that. There we go. All right, so now that we got it right side up, looking good. They did adjust the proportions on the engine. Before, if you were playing the game, when the engine got on the engine stand, it seemed really, really small, and they've adjusted the scaling on it so that it actually fits and looks a lot better. And they've also gone through and fixed all of the engines. Hopefully all of them now mount up correctly on the engine stand. This looks good. I'm happy with this. This is the first time I've had a V8 sit up on here and actually sit in the correct position. So at this point, it's just engine disassembly. We'll start taking all the parts off. We'll start at the top, get rid of our air filter. And honestly, I would have taken all of this off on the car if I was rebuilding in real life. I would have taken all the way down to the exhaust manifold. As a matter of fact, I probably would have taken the intake manifold off as well and used one of the bolt holes for the head. Unless I had an engine lift bracket on here, I probably would have used taken a bolt out of the heads and used that as a way to actually lift the engine out. But you know, I don't do all that in the game that much, so. And those lift brackets that they pre-assemble on some of these vehicles are junk anyways. So here's another little thing about this engine. One of the reasons the value is going to be so much less on it, just looking at it, it didn't have hardly any rocker arms on it. And again, that's something I don't care about, because when I'm building a car in the game, honestly, I try to build it a lot like I build in real life. I'm not going to rebuild and use the pre-existing rocker arms. I'm going to put all new rocker arms in, because, you know, the old ones were wore out. Put all new valve lifters in, all new push rods, things like that, that I consider to be consumables as part of the automobile. So those things I'm going to replace all brand new. Going to put new pistons in it. I'm going to put new spark plugs in it, new plug wires. Those aren't things I recycle in real life. All right, get the fuel filter out of there, and we'll move over to this side. So yeah, if I was doing this in real life, these would go in the trash. They would be wore out, and I'd take the heads and have them reworked by somebody. And when they brought them back to me, they would have new rocker arms loosely fitted on them. And they would be, you know, they would just be jiggling around, loosely fitted on them, with your valves and your valve springs already assembled. so that when I put it into the vehicle, all I had to do was put my push rods in and then move the rocker arm over and then adjust the tension on the rocker arms and get everything torqued out right. All right, so that is done. Let's take out the plugs. There we go. Now we should be able to take out the... Wait, what is missing? What did I miss? I've got all the... Oh, I got to take the exhaust manifold off. Silly me. Silly me. There we go. Now we take that head off. I didn't even think about that. I thought both of the exhaust manifolds weren't on here. I wasn't paying attention. How about that? I got an exhaust manifold I can repair. So now we're down to just the block there. We'll come out to the front. We'll take off the whole pulley system here. Get our serpentine belts off. Those will replace brand new. Pull the water pump. Get it off. Take off our harmonic balancer, which they call a camshaft pulley or crankshaft pulley in this game, which is odd to me. I've never heard it referred to as that. Go ahead and grab that oil filter off there. Now we're on the timing chain cover. Pull it. Grab our V8 overhead. Let's get the chain first, then the pulley. But see, that's, again, in real life, you don't fit the chain and then the pulley. You put the chain around the pulley and then you put it up on the camshaft and mount it all up in there. Now the cam can come out, and at this point we can rotate the engine. And I don't know, I have to usually walk away from the engine hoist and then come back to be able to get it into position so that I can actually use the controls on it. Once I go into an engine and work, I typically have to just step back and then come back to the stand, and it'll give me the menu so that I can actually interact with it. So we'll come under here. We're going to get all our rod caps loosened up. Yeah. So when I build, I usually have a ball peen hammer with me laying on my workbench. And after I take all the rod caps off, I take the handle and I use it to smack all these all the cams and all the pistons and knock them out. Just using the handle of the hammer, knock them out and catch them. And it all depends whether I'm surfacing an engine or, you know, like if I'm doing a complete rebuild, I really just don't care. I'm not going to knock them all out and life is good because I'm going to replace them all brand new. But if it's like if I've got something wrong, like a knock where I've got a bearing gone bad or something else like that, where I'm just going to pull it out, polish the cylinders, and then reset everything back into place, then that's one of those where I take the time to knock them out, catch them, and take care not to do any damage to them. All right, so that's all done. That gets us everything off the engine. Then we come over here to the repair bench, and then we're just going to start repairing everything up, getting everything back into that new condition. Hopefully we're able to keep all the major components and then only have to replace, you know, the wear and tear items. Hopefully we get away with that and not have to put a new engine in it or something else like that. Now, a lot of these things I have in surplus. Been doing enough picking in the junkyard that I got a pretty good stash going over in my warehouse, and that's a thing you should be doing while you're leveling up in the game, while you're doing the grind and you're looking for a way to break the monotony. You should always be going and picking parts, because that's going to come in handy for you when you get to the point where you actually start doing some of these restores, because you'll have the supplies that you need. Luckily, we salvaged the block. I think we also, no, we lost the crankshaft. So first trip over to the warehouse now is to see if we have a crankshaft. I'm pretty sure I do have one. So we'll just go through here. I'll select engine, so I'm only looking at engine parts. And we're looking for a crankshaft for a V8 overhead valve. So we'll just scroll through here. This should be one of those that I have. I've picked enough of them out of the yard. I've got a camshaft in case I need that. Or is that a performance part? That could be a performance part. And you can't use those right now. There we go. V8 overhead valve crankshaft. So sure enough, I had one. Yeah, I've been picking a lot of parts out of the junkyard. Oops. Put that back up there. I want that. And I want that added in. There we go. Now let's get down here and put our main bearing caps in. This is one of those things that I've said before. I wish they had gone a little bit more detail. They've got everything else where you click, and you put pieces in. Like when we do pistons, you'll put the piston ring. I wish they had gone a little bit more detail. I wish they had said on the bearing caps here, where you've got the bearing cap, you should have been putting the bearings in there. I think that would have been really cool. I mean, it would just been an extra step of realism for you, right? And that would have been something else that you would have had to spend money on. You could have repaired your bearing caps, but you would have had to have replaced the bearings because that's one of those wear and tear items you just don't repair, right? So we get that in there, and then we're going to come around to this side because I'm going to do this as realistic as I can, you know, trying to be somewhat realistic. Now, I'm not going for uber realism here, but I'm not going to put those in either. I need to go to the store and buy me some pistons and some rings because I'm not going to put wore out pistons back into this engine. I'm going to put all new parts because we're going for that 100% restore on it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to come down here under engines, and I'm going to buy pistons, rings, and I should have rod caps. I should have rod caps, I say. We'll see. Boy, I'm just terrible at finding P, aren't I? Pistons with the con rods, and I need 8 of these. There we go. We'll do a little bit of shopping here. Gonna need 8 of these. There we go. We're gonna need 1 of those. And we could go ahead and get the spark plugs, I guess, because we know we're going to need 8 of those. Eight of them. We are going to need rocker arms. So let's find those, and we'll get 16 of these real quick. And then I'm also going to need push rods. Oops, going the wrong direction again. Are they called, what are they called in here? Are they called connecting rods, or there they are, valve push rods. 16 of these. I'm pretty sure these are just the regular valve push rods. I don't think there's anything special about them. All right. And that should be good enough for now. Hopefully the rest of the stuff we have enough of. All right, so jump back up here, go into assembly mode, and I'll lace all my, I'll put all my pistons in first. Now, normally you would have, if you're doing this in real life, you take your pistons, you put your piston rings in there, you'd alternate your grooves so none of those will line up, and then you use a ring squeezer, which looks like a big tube that you put them in there, and you would tighten all your rings up, and then you'd slide it in, and again, using my wooden ball peen hammer, I'd tap those in, but also being careful to guide the connecting rod down into the down in here and get it around and get it so it straddles the crankshaft. You don't want to like be banging the connecting rod up against the crankshaft and scarring the crankshaft. Then you gotta forgot to do, but it Back into assembly mode. I know a dude who did that one time. He like put his piston in and he pushed it down too hard, and he actually scarred the crankshaft. Like, well, all that works down the drain. Gotta go back, do it again. At least a little bit of scar can cause a little bit of problems with the engine. All right, so with that buttoned up, let's go out and we'll rotate our engine. So we were talking about this in the live stream the other day. If I were doing this in real life, I'd put a piston in one at a time before some people, you know, start saying, well, you wouldn't do that in real life. I put one piston in at a time. I'd crank it in, I'd put it in there, I'd torque the rod caps on it, and then I would, after I did that, I would go through and I'd rotate the engine one full turn on the crankshaft just to make sure the engine was nice and free, that I didn't put one in and it caused a bind. It's easier to do it one at a time and double check your friction to make sure everything is right than to do them all and then all of a sudden realize that this engine doesn't turn over freely. Where's the problem at? All right, let's get this one in. The other thing I think is missing from the game they should have modeled in is the oil pump. You put it down here in your oil sump or your oil pan. I don't understand why they didn't do that. To me, that would be awesome if they'd model that in. Be a little bit cooler. You can go ahead and set the oil filter in place. Though, in all honesty, I wouldn't put the oil filter on until the end of the game, or until I had it in the car, if I'm honest about all that stuff. Just because there's a chance that I'd do some damage to it, and, you know, we don't want to do that. Let's go ahead and put our cam in. That's the next thing that would go in place, because after you put the cam in, this wouldn't be completely open. You'd be able to see down in here. You'd be putting your valve lifters in. We're gonna have to get a cam gear and a cam chain, or timing chain, for V8 overhead. So let's go up here to the top to cams. Somebody yelled at me the other day in the live stream, oh, we should use the search feature. It's driving me nuts. You know, in the time it takes me to type it in and then type something else in, I can just kind of scroll through everything. I don't like using it. It just doesn't do it for me. All right. Back up front. I should buy all that at the same time too, because I typically have to replace it on every build. And again, if I were doing this in real life, I'd have my cam gear, and the cam's got a little lobe on it right here, right? It's got that little lobe on there. That locks onto the camshaft, and I'd have to get that right anyway. So I don't know. I'd be moving all this stuff anyways to get the cam. I'd have to get the cam and the crankshaft in the right place first, so that I get my timing set, and then I'd take the cam off, put the timing chain on, and set it up there at one time to do it. The way I've always put them on, and that way you've got your gears and everything aligned up, and your timing is set on your vehicle. But you don't do that in this game, so you don't have to really worry about any of that stuff. All right, so is that all right? Gotta put the timing chain on it now. There we go. Now, there we go. Boom. All right. So with that in place, let's go over here to our heads. Put our head back in place. And we'll go ahead and lock them down. And we can start putting our push rods in. All brand new. I may have to mute myself here in just a second. I feel a sneeze coming on. don't think y'all want to hear that. So if I go kind of quiet for a second, that'll be what's happening. But anyways, having a lot of fun with the game, really enjoying it. We've been doing a lot of it, and just enjoying playing it. And even with the bugs that are in the game, I haven't found anything that's game breaking. I've been having a great time with it. Been a lot of people who all they want to do is complain about the game, but in all honesty, I have maybe a couple of times had some things that were frustrating, but overall my experience with the game has just been awesome. I like what they did. I'm looking forward to the DLCs when you get some performance tuning and things like that into the game. Oops, I don't have any valve covers. I'm going to have to get those. All right, let's get to this side. Put our head on. Oh, we lost one head. So over here, I'm sure I've got a head. And I probably have the valve covers, so let's look for those as well while we're in here. So we're looking for a head for a V8 overhead valve. And the valve covers. That's a different set of valve covers there. Come on, make sure I have these this time. Don't let me down. V8 overhead valve. And let's look for those head covers. Gotta have one somewhere in here. If not, it won't be the end of the world. They're not that expensive in the store. None of the parts are really that expensive, to be honest with you. And I mean, really, it's like I said, you're gonna average about $10,000 on a build, maybe less than that when you build these out. That might be the head cover we have to have. I'm not real. Nope, there we go. Engine cover B. And then I need engine cover A. Boom. Got it. Knew I'd have that stuff. I've picked, like I said, I've picked a ton of parts. That's my biggest piece of advice to you is pick the junkyard when you're a little tired of grinding through all the jobs and you feel like, oh, I've done this one a million times. Take a break. Go to the junkyard. Spend 30 minutes going through there, picking all the parts, come back and repair them. Once you get to level, I think it's 25, and you get to where you're doing 95% repair on parts, sit there and just pick parts and build up a warehouse of body panels, things like that you can use. And, you know, by that time, you know what parts you're going to need, and I just thought I picked that part out of there. Okay. Did I miss something? Is there a bug in the game now with this? Engine head V8. Overhead valve. All right. Well, apparently that didn't register. Let's look in this guy one more time and see if we've got it. Just after I talk about bugs and say, hey, there's nothing groundbreaking in this or game breaking in here, I pull a valve out and it doesn't, or a head out and it doesn't want to register. I don't know, the inventory system they're having issues with. They had the warehouse working fine. Everything I see, for me, it seemed to work just fine. I didn't have any real issues with it other than the whole dupe thing. There was an issue with duplicates where you go in here and you pull something out of your inventory. You always get two of them in your system. Okay, engine head V8 overhead valve. I'm gonna pull one more. Now it's probably going to show that I have 4 of them in my inventory now. Oh, that was a performance part I pulled earlier. That explains it. Ah, that explains why it didn't work. It was a performance part. Should work now. There we go. Yeah, any of that Laquette or whatever it is, that's all performance stuff. And until the performance DLC comes out, then you can't use those performance parts. All right, so let's put the rest of the push rods in. But yeah, there's been this inventory bug. Now the biggest one is with body panels, and we'll probably run into it at the end of the game here, or at the end of the video. When I go to put the body panels on the vehicle, hang them and clean them up, we may end up with a duplicate set in our inventory. It's been doing that, and it's just kind of like, how'd you mess this part up? It wasn't messed up the day before. Before, it was you'd repair an item and you'd end up with a duplicate, and when you tried to clear it out of your inventory, it wouldn't sell it, but it wouldn't register, and you'd have to hit sell, and then you'd have to hit yes, and then you'd have to hit no and get rid of it. Now it actually puts it in there, and you rehang it on the car, and then you end up with a duplicate set of panels in your inventory that you have to go sell, which is sort of a bummer because now you're getting paid you know, extra income for something that, you know, technically you didn't want in your inventory, and it sort of messes up the economy. The other thing is the workbench is still broken. You're still not getting charged to do the repairs on the items in the workbench, which I really wish they would get fixed, because I don't like not getting paid for them. I don't like not getting charged for them. I like getting charged, and I like my economy to be correct. I want to know that the effort that I put into the game, I like to know that I'm beating the game fairly. I don't want to be thinking like I'm exploiting the game or anything. So I don't know. Nobody wants to have to grind this game again like you do in the beginning, but I'm looking at it thinking, well, I'm probably going to have to just do a whole new start all over once they get all the bugs fixed, which, you know, that could be 6 months to a year, as many bugs as they keep, you know, having in the game. So you never know. All right, that much is done. I guess I can go hang an exhaust manifold on this side. Again, probably not something I would do in real life before I put it in the car, but it does make it a little bit easier to do it out here. I'm gonna have to go get an exhaust manifold out of the shop, because I know I don't have another one on me. Let's see what the distributor looks like. It's broken. Water pump, that's good. We can go ahead and set that in place. Go ahead and set our power steering pump. Crankshaft pulley is going to always be bad. The water pump pulley is always going to be bad. The alternator is going to be good. Then the fuel pump, the fuel filter should be bad, and the coal may be good. The coal's good. So I need a distributor, button, cap, wires. Go ahead and set our intake manifold on. And again, I know I would normally do this part of it on the engine stand. Probably wouldn't put the carburetor on it. Definitely wouldn't put the oil filter in there, air filter on there for it to get crushed by the chains trying to put it into the car. But because we are taking a little bit of leeway, it is a game, and it just makes it easier to get to everything out here. I am going to go ahead and do it before I put it in there. Let's look at our inventory. Let's sort the parts by quality. And again, this menu down here is messed up. The first one is arrival. The second one is condition. The third one is by name. I'm going to go ahead and sort by condition. That way I can come down here and look and see what I got. Now, see how I've got two of these? I've still got extra head covers in here when I only loaded one of each in there. I've got an extra head in here. That's a duplicate bug. To get rid of those, all I got to do is go over here, either save the game and come back into the game, or for me, I just go up here and exit to the parking area. It'll load in my parking garage. While we're here, we can take a look at all the cars that are up here. And then we go back in, it'll get rid of all the duplicates out of my bag. So while we're up here, we might as well take a look at the cars that Moose has been messing around with during the live streams. You guys can see all the cars that I have. This is a spare RX-7 that I haven't built yet. I've got the Firebird here, the Trans Am that is supposed to be the Bandit Trans Am or whatever, but anyways, we did that up in chocolate. But yeah, that's the TA. Then I've got an extra Typhoon that I'm going to build out. This was a barn find that I paid $40,000 for, and I'm going to build it out to match the one downstairs so that I can see if they're the exact same value when complete, so that you compare and say, okay, well, I paid this much for a junker out of a junkyard, and I paid this much for a barn find, and look, they ended up at the exact same amount of money. So why even mess with the barn finds when you can get the same, better profit margin out of a junkyard? So that's a project I'm working on. RX-7, we did a full resto on this the other night, and that was a fun build. Then we've got our Hellcat here that we worked on for just a little bit. This is the GT20. I've not done this build yet. This is just, I did go ahead and get the panels and paint it so it looked a little bit better. And then we got our Dodge Charger that we did during the live stream the other night. That was a fun build. Looks awesome, all cleaned up. I've got a Roulet here that I'm gonna, or excuse me, this is the Fastback. This is your Mustang Fastback. I've got it. I have found it the other day, picked it out of the junkyard, and I'm doing a little bit of resto on it. Over here is the Roulet I'm working on, and then this is another Vet that I picked late last night that I decided I would hold on to and do as a project car, but I wanted to do a full pick today and didn't know that I was going to have a Vet in there, so that's kind of cool. Anyways, we'll leave and go back down to the garage. I'll get rid of all my duplicates. All right, so we're back, and now if we check our inventory, all our duplicate items are gone that were in here just a little while ago. We're back down to one of each, so that's the easy way to clean it. Again, I could save, and I could go to the menu and come back in from a save, and it'll be there. The reason I typically go up there simply has to be because it's a force of habit now. It won't be the last time we go up there either. I'll end up going up there after we set the engine in the car, because there's a glitch that when you go to set the engine in the car, we'll put the engine in the car and then we won't be able to get out of the menu for the engine lift. So we're going to have to go up there anyways. So I needed a clip B to be able to fix the distributor. And then I'm also going to look to see if I have a distributor in here. And then we're going to have to go to the shop and get an air filter. Nope, that one's no good. Come on now. This, and again, anybody who leaves a comment and says, well, why don't you use the search bar for a distributor? It doesn't work in the inventory. Trust me, this is one place I would like search to work. I would really like the search to work in here. And they're doing little things like balancing the prices of cars in the junkyard right now. I would rather see them fix the things like the search menu in here. Get these words working on this menu system and get the search function working in here and get rid of the duplicates problem that are in the inventory before you go massaging the prices on cars in the junkyard. I just feel like that's a more important thing to be focused on than to be, focused on doing stupid little balancing issues right now. And having your priorities in line is important, and it seems like on some of this stuff they don't have it. Round air filter, that's what I wanted to check, was which air filter I needed for this thing before I jumped in here and started shopping again. So let's pick up the parts. We need the round air filter. So we'll come all the way down here to the R's. Round air filter single carb. We need one of those. And I need a distributor, which is under ignition distributor. There we go. And I need a set of spark plug wires for a V8. Just right there. V8 head overhead valve D, that's going to be for the Dodge. It's not something that you need for this particular engine. And we can go ahead and rotate this engine. Oh, I needed a couple other things. Duh, let's go back into the store. Need to get my serpentine belts, get my crankshaft pulley, water pump pulley, all that stuff. So let's go down here to the bottom, grab the water pump pulley. We'll come up from there. We'll go to serpentine belts. And we're going to see serpentine belt B for overhead valve. And I need serpentine belt A for the overhead valve. Serpentine belt A, V8, overhead valve. Where you at? Nope, that's C. That's the one I need right there. There we go. And then we can come back up here to the top and we'll get the crankshaft pulley. After a while, you get used to it and you just start memorizing the parts that you need for this job, for each job that you need. But it takes a little bit of time. And let's go ahead and see if we can't interact with that. Let's rotate that engine. I need to rotate it that way, correct? There we go. Ah, it looks better. All right, so let's do a little bit more assembly work. Let's go ahead and get the pulley on here. There we go. And I guess I can go ahead and put that serpentine belt on. Go ahead and put the water pump pulley on. I didn't grab a fuel filter. Oh, why didn't y'all yell at me and tell me, Moose, grab a fuel filter? I don't have a fan either. I'm going to have to find a fan somewhere. All right, distributor, check. Rotary button, check. Cap, check. Clips, 1. And 2. Ignition wires, check. Air filter, you betcha. And cover. There we go. All right, so that is done. The last thing I need to do is get a filter, and I need to get a fan blade for this thing. So let me see if I've got one in the warehouse. Radiator housing fan. Nope, that's not it. Gotta have one. Let's see. If not, that's a small part. It's no big deal. Not a deal breaker. Come on. Need that though. That's good. Oh, there we go. Found the fan. Excellent. Excellent. All right, so we can put that fuel filter on, and we can put that on. Button her up, and there's one more part that I got to get that will finish it up, and that's going to be an exhaust valve. Excuse me, exhaust manifold, which is listed under engine, even though it's exhaust part. And it's exhaust valve for, or exhaust manifold for the V8. Overhead valve. Looks like a set of headers. And let's see if we can get it. There we go. Oh, nope. That's not it. That's a performance part. That dog won't hunt. Where you at? Where you at? Where you at? Where are you going to be? Come on now. Oh, look at there. There's one I don't have. All right, so grab that real quick. Exhaust manifold for the V8 overhead. And we should be good to go. Where you at? There you at. There you go. 49 bucks. And that's not really expensive. Wish the prices were more in line with what they really cost in real life. It would be a lot nicer. They're way off. All right, so that is that. We can go ahead now, interact with the old crane stand here. We'll take the engine off. We'll go get the crane, put it back over in front of the vehicle, and we can set our motor back in. And to do that, we just go over here, interact with the crane, install the engine, select the engine we wish to install, and see how that sticks up there? Yep. This is why I'm so used to going to the parking garage, because to get rid of it, I got to go to the parking garage. And in the reload cycle, it will bring it up. I can't escape out of the game and get rid of that. Escape, that's one thing that the escape doesn't get rid of. The only way I can get rid of it is to go over here to the parking garage, load the parking garage up, and then go back into the shop, and it will have gotten rid of that part of it. So it's kind of silly. You know, you figure out your workarounds. The benefit to do with that is the engine stand replaces itself right where it needs to be. So that's taken care of. All right, so last things we need to do, we need to put the radiator back in, which we repaired over in the shop. We'll put the button, we'll have to replace that radiator cap here in just a moment. But because don't forget to do that, the radiator cap C is always cruddy looking. You can get one for free in the store, so just go ahead and plan on replacing that. But it is a free item in the store. You don't get charged for it, which is kind of nice. Our battery, we need to get recharged, so we'll walk over here to the battery charger. Then we'll interact with that. We'll charge our battery and get it back to new. It's just a pretty quick little process. Wada bing, bada boom, and it should be charged and ready to go. We'll retrieve it, and we'll come back over here and put it in the car. There was a time when you charge your battery, it actually duplicated it, and you ended up with 2 batteries in your inventory. But they have since fixed that in a patch, so you don't have that problem anymore. So there we have it. We have our fully restored motor into the car, and it's going to be good stuff for us. And now if we just look at the value of our car, boom, we've increased the price of our car now to $25,553. So we've already put a lot of money into this car to make it a little bit more profitable. So let's raise the lift up, and while that is going up, we'll go and we'll clean out our inventory. Easiest way to do this is just go down here, go to condition, and just start deleting stuff. Drive shaft, gonna need a new one anyway, so let's go ahead and just delete all of this stuff, sell it off, make a little bit of money off of our scrap junk. And then we'll go get the parts that we need. We need a new flywheel, a new throwout bearing, and a new pressure plate. We have a good clutch, and our gearbox is good. We can put our engine head over here and throw it away because, well, you know, we couldn't use it because it's a performance part. If it has this Laquette name on it, it's a performance part, and you can't use it right now. Oh, while we're in there, there's one more thing I saw that I needed, and that would be a drive shaft. I thought I saw one right there in there. There we go. Got a drive shaft out of there that we need. Go into the store real quick and buy ourselves a pressure plate and flywheel. Come on, here we go. Pressure plate, flywheel. I think pressure plate, flywheel, and throwout bearing. I think those are just, you're never going to be able to replace those. It just doesn't seem like it. All right, flywheel, clutch plate itself, then the pressure plate. Let's go ahead and lace those up. And then we'll put our throwout bearing in and the gearbox. Oh, you know, the one thing I haven't seen yet is a starter. so we're gonna have to buy a starter for this thing. And I know I don't have one in supplies. I have the hardest time finding the starter for the V8s. I have the hardest time finding them. I can find just the regular starter in the junkyard, but I can never find the starter for the V8. When I do, it's a rare occasion. So that's one of the parts I end up always having to come in here and buy if I don't repair it up. It's sort of like my kryptonite as far as things that I can actually find for the car. All right, so let's jump in here, put the starter into place, get that done, and boom, that gets the engine done. So I'm going to call it a video right here. This is going to be part one of our two-part series on this car. We'll go ahead and be done with the engine rebuild. And then when we come back, we'll do the suspension work. We'll do the body work, paint it, and we'll finish her up. In the suggestions, leave me a suggestion of what color you guys want to see the car painted up. Do you want to go with the blue with maybe some white rally stripes? Do you want to go with a white with some black rally stripes on it, or do you want to have a different color? Let me know in the comments down below, and we will get this guy done and make it look good. So anyways, I hope you guys have enjoyed the video today. If you did, make sure you hit that like button for me. If you want to see some more car mechanic simulator videos, make sure you leave a comment down below as well. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. I hope you enjoyed the content. Join us for the live streams. We stream pretty much every day. Usually start around 6 o'clock. Sometimes start a little bit earlier than that. We stream a variety of games. Mondays and Fridays is usually going to be 7 Days to Die, but then I do car mechanic and all kinds of other stuff throughout the week. So come join us. And join us on Discord. I usually tell everybody when I'm live streaming there. Or, you know, make sure you follow me on Twitter. That's when I always tweet out when I'm getting ready to do a live stream. All right? Take it easy. Have yourself a great day. Thanks for joining me, guys. God bless you and your family, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.